I tutor the daughter of one of the richest men in the country. For 3 years, she's been stuck in a post-grad year, retaking her SATs. In those 3 years, I've lost half my hair, and she's gained 10 pounds, all in the right places. You could teach a brick to do calculus in this amount of time, but she can still somehow get a third answer to a simple true or false question. I slammed my pen down on the table. My patience finally shattered as I looked at the bombshell sitting across from me. A girl with a body that defied physics and a look of pure, unfiltered stupidity in her eyes. "Chloe, seriously," I said, my voice cracking, "do we have to keep beating our heads against this wall? Are those billions of dollars your dad has just burning a hole in your pocket? For the love of God, do us both a favor. Just drop out and go inherit the family fortune, will you?" Chloe blinked her big, innocent doe eyes, chewing on the end of her pen. Her G-cup chest, a marvel of genetics that seemed to have its own gravitational pull, was pressed against the desktop, creating a shape that could stop traffic. "But Leo," she whined, her voice a soft pout, "I really want to go to college." It all came crashing down 2 weeks later when I was dropping off some paperwork for my thesis advisor at a top-tier university. On the lecture stage, surrounded by adoring faculty, was a young woman they called the most brilliant mind of her generation. She was effortlessly explaining a series of complex quantum mechanics equations scrawled across a massive blackboard. The dean, beaming with pride, leaned over to me. "That's Chloe Sterling, 3 years younger than you. She got a 1590 on her SATs when she was 14. I nearly had to get on my knees and beg the president of MIT to back off so we could have her. A true genius. People have to book appointments a year in advance just to get a minute with her." I stared at the woman on stage. She adjusted her gold-rimmed glasses, exuding an aura of cool authority that made her seem 7 feet tall. This was the same idiot who couldn't remember the Pythagorean theorem without me holding her hand. Standing in the back of the auditorium, my brain short-circuited. Chapter 1. If you got the guts, the tutor quits Leo. The answer to this one is C, right? A delicate, pale hand shoved a practice test in my face, the air filling with a faint, milky scent from her lotion. I took a deep breath, peeled the paper off my face, and glanced at the multiple-choice question. Question: if two sides of a triangle are 3 and 4, what is the possible range for the length of the third side? Chloe had chosen C, 7. I felt a vein begin to throb in my temple. It wasn't blood pumping through my body anymore. It was pure magma. "Chloe," I said, trying to keep my facial muscles from twitching into a permanent grimace. "The sum of two sides of a triangle has to be greater than the third side. 3 plus 4 is 7. If the third side is also 7, can you make a triangle?" "No. You can make a straight line. You can make a breadstick, maybe, but not a damn triangle." Chloe sat across from me, wearing a loose-fitting white cotton t-shirt. But even the baggiest clothes couldn't hide a figure that seemed to have been designed by a committee of teenage boys. Based on 3 years of visual observation and the occasional accidental bump, I knew for a fact that this girl was, at minimum, a G-cup. She was the textbook definition of all beauty, no brains. Right now, she was looking at me with those big, watery eyes, her bottom lip pushed out in a pout. But I just thought 7 was a lucky number. Lucky! I slapped my red pen on the table. "Then why don't you just draw a $sign on your SAT sheet next time? That's even luckier." The housekeeper, who was clearing the table nearby, let out a snort of laughter before quickly covering her mouth and disappearing into the kitchen. I slumped back in my chair, feeling like my soul had been vacuumed out of my body. 3 years. 3 whole years. I started tutoring her as an undergrad intern. Now, I was about to finish my master's degree, and she was still prepping for the SATs. In that time, I'd watch her transform from a high schooler with a goofy smile into a bombshell with a goofy smile. Her intellectual development seemed to be stuck on an infinite loading screen. "Now, are you mad at me?" Chloe scooted her chair closer, cautiously grabbing the hem of my shirt and giving it a little shake. Her every movement caused a seismic event on her chest that was both distracting and awe-inspiring. I fixed my gaze on the ceiling chandelier, silently reciting the periodic table to calm myself down. "I'm not mad," I said through gritted teeth. "I'm just contemplating the vast and terrifying spectrum of human evolution." "Well, can we take a break?" Her eyes lit up as she produced a pink thermos from behind her back like a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat. I made you some homemade sweet tea. Have a sip. It'll cool you down. I looked at the thermos, which was covered in Hello Kitty stickers, and my resolve softened slightly. The girl might have the IQ of a houseplant, but she was genuinely sweet. Whenever my throat got dry from lecturing, she'd always have water or a snack ready for me. Fine. I took the thermos, twisted off the lid, and took a huge gulp. The next second, PFFFTTT. A fine mist of brownish liquid erupted from my mouth, spraying directly onto Chloe's perfectly sculpted face. Cough. Cough. Hot. I coughed so hard my lungs burned, my throat feeling like I just gargled with razor blades. What the hell is this? It's salty. Chloe wiped the spray from her face, her expression one of pure innocence. Oops. I think I must have used salt instead of sugar. But hey, doesn't salt water quench your thirst better? Quench my thirst. This was more likely to mummify me from the inside out. Looking at her, I messed up, but I'm too cute for you to be mad at me, face. I finally snapped. Chloe. I shot to my feet, the chair screeching against the polished marble floor. I'm done. I quit. Let someone else do this. Hell, hire a veterinarian. Maybe they'll have better luck. I don't want this month's pay. I'll pay the penalty for breaking the contract. I hope we never see each other again for the rest of our lives. With that, I grabbed my backpack and bolted for the front door. Behind me, Chloe's panicked voice echoed through the massive foyer. Now, Mr. Carter, wait. Don't go. I'll use sugar next time. I'll use 2 spoons, no 3. I hesitated for a split second, then ran even faster. If I stayed a moment longer, I was afraid I'd try to shove that thermos down her throat. Chapter 2. The logic of a billionaire is truly something else. The moment I stepped out of the Sterling family's Beverly Hills mansion, the smoggy LA air felt cleaner, purer. I may have forfeited a month's salary, but I had reclaimed my freedom. I wouldn't have to stare at another one of her infuriatingly wrong test papers or endure the soul-crushing despair of explaining basic concepts to a wall. I felt like I'd just added 2 years back to my life. My joy lasted for less than 2 hours. I had just gotten back to my tiny apartment in Westwood and was about to order a celebratory pizza when my phone rang. The caller ID read, Mr. Sterling. My hand trembled, and I nearly dropped my phone in the toilet. Mr. Sterling, Chloe's father, a titan of industry whose net worth was rumored to affect the city's GDP. For the past 3 years, he'd had only one requirement for me. Just keep Chloe sitting at a desk and out of trouble, and he'd pay whatever I asked. I hesitated for 3 seconds, then answered the call. Hello, Mr. Sterling. Leo, my boy. His booming laugh echoed from the phone, making my eardrum vibrate. Heard you quit. Did that little rascal of mine push your buttons again? Mr. Sterling, it's not about that, I said, sinking onto the edge of my bed. I honestly can't teach her. Your daughter's talents, they don't lie in academics. I think you should really consider letting her pursue something else. I racked my brain, but I honestly couldn't think of a single thing Chloe was good at besides eating and, well, growing. Nonsense, Leo. Don't say that. Mr. Sterling's tone shifted, becoming conspiratorial. To be honest, I never expected her to get into some Ivy League school. I just want her to have something to do, to keep her from sitting around the house. Well, you know. What the hell did I know? All she did at home was watch cartoons and sleep. What else could she possibly do? Demolish the place? Sir, I really don't want to waste your daughter's time or your money, I said firmly. You should find someone more qualified. Triple. What? I'll triple your salary. Mr. Sterling's voice was slick with the seductive allure of old money. Come back, and I'll pay you triple for the rest of the semester. And if she manages to get into any community college this year, I'll write you a bonus check for $100,000. My hand, clutching the phone, started to tremble. Triple my salary. $100,000 bonus. That was enough for the seed money for the startup I wanted to launch after graduation. That was a new car. That was a down payment on a condo. But I, Leo Carter, am a man of principle. I'm not someone who can be bought. Mr. Sterling, it's not about the money 5 times. Deal. After hanging up, I slapped myself hard across the face. Leo, you sold out. You traded your soul for a pile of cash. But 5 times my salary. For my dream, a little humiliation was a small price to pay, right? The next morning, I found myself standing once again at the grand entrance of the Sterling mansion. Chloe herself opened the door. She was in a pink silk pajamas set, her hair a messy bird's nest, and she was clutching a giant Winnie the Pooh stuffed animal. When she saw me, she froze for a second, and then her eyes lit up like a pair of high-beam headlights. "Lau, you're back." With a happy shriek, she launched herself at me. Oof! All the air was driven from my lungs as I was hit by a wall of soft, fragrant Chloe. The suffocating pressure was so intense, I think my brain lost oxygen for a moment. "Let go." I struggled to escape her embrace, my face flushed bright red. "Chloe, personal space. Get off me." She let go, taking 2 steps back with a goofy grin plastered on her face. "I knew you couldn't bear to leave me. Look, I got you a present." From behind her back, she magically produced an abacus. "What is this?" I asked, completely baffled. "I saw in a movie that, in ancient times, students had to kneel on an abacus to apologize to their teachers," she explained with total seriousness, placing the abacus on the floor. "Leo, if you're still mad, you can make me kneel on it. As long as you don't leave, I'll even kneel on a pile of Legos." I stared at the abacus on the floor. It was glittering. It was solid gold. Was this an apology? Or was she just flexing on me? "Get up," I snapped, nudging the golden artifact with my foot. "Go wash your face and brush your teeth. Meet me in the study in 10 minutes. And if you get a single multiple-choice question wrong today, I'll make you eat this abacus." "Yes, sir." She gave a clumsy salute and ran upstairs, happily hugging her Pooh Bear. Watching her bounce up the stairs, especially the way certain parts of her bounced along with her, I sighed in resignation. How long could I possibly keep this up? Just then, Mr. Sterling walked out of the living room, holding a cup of coffee. He watched his daughter disappear up the stairs before turning to me with a knowing look. "Leo, I appreciate you. That girl, she can be quite the actress sometimes. Just try to bear with her." "An actress? Acting what? Like an idiot?" If this was an act, then the Academy owed her a damn Oscar. Chapter 3. Social suicide at the library. To prevent another salty sweet tea incident, I decided to take Chloe to the library to study. A change of scenery, I thought. Maybe the scholarly atmosphere of the Los Angeles Central Library would somehow osmosis into her brain. As it turned out, I was painfully naive. The moment we walked in, Chloe was like a tourist at Disneyland, gawking at everything. She was wearing a tight-fitting knit top and a pair of denim shorts that showed off 2 long, pale legs that seemed to go on for miles. Her presence in the quiet, studious halls of the library was causing a scene. The collective head-turning was at a solid 300%. I saw at least 3 guys holding their books upside down, their eyes practically glued to her. Scowling, I grabbed her by the arm and dragged her to a secluded corner. "Sit down, and don't move," I hissed. "This is a library, not a runway. Tone down the charm, will you? You're going to make that old man over there lose his dentures." Chloe stuck her tongue out, but sat down obediently, pulling out a massive Kaplan SAT prep book. "Leo, I don't get this one." Not even 5 minutes had passed. I leaned over to look. It was an English reading comprehension passage about environmental protection. Question: what is the main idea of the passage? After much hesitation, Chloe's finger landed on option C. The writer likes eating apples. I took a deep, shuddering breath, feeling my brain cells commit mass suicide. "Chloe," I said, pointing to the first paragraph. "This entire section is about global warming. Where do you see anything about apples? Which word did you possibly confuse with an apple? Did you mix up application with apple?" But Chloe blinked her innocent eyes. The word just kind of looked like apple. And now I'm hungry for an apple. "I'm hungry to throw you out a window," I thought. Realizing we were in a library, I forced my voice down to a strained whisper. "You want an apple? Fine. You get this question right, I'll buy you a whole case of apples. You get it wrong, you have to eat this page." "Really?" Her eyes lit up. She immediately grabbed her pen and started scribbling furiously. I was surprised. Was she some kind of masochist? Did she need a wager to unlock her potential? But when I saw what she was doing, I nearly had a stroke. She had taken out a die. A pink die with the letters A, B, C, and D on its faces. Clatter, clatter, clatter. The die rolled across the table and finally came to stop on D. Without a moment's hesitation, Chloe circled D on her test. "It's D," she announced proudly, looking at me with expectant eyes. "I'm done. I want my apples." A few students at nearby tables couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing. My face burned with secondhand embarrassment. I wanted the floor to open up and swallow me whole. Was this what they called divination-based test-taking? I snatched the die out of her hand and stuffed it in my pocket. Confiscated. Éclair de hair. If I ever catch you using this kind of hocus-pocus again, I'll grind this thing into dust and make you drink it. Chloe's lip trembled. You're so mean. I had that die blessed at a temple. It's really lucky my ass. My blood pressure was reaching dangerous levels. If this thing was so lucky, what do you need me for? Everyone could just go to a temple and shake a die to get into college. Just then, a guy with glasses and a know-it-all air walked over. He first gave Chloe's chest a greedy once-over, then put on a scholarly smile. Excuse me, this question isn't that hard. You see, the keyword here is environment, so the answer is clearly A. If you need any more help, you can add me on WhatsApp. I can tutor you. Was this guy trying to poach my student right in front of me? Before I could say anything, Chloe spoke up. She looked up at him, her face a mask of pure innocence. Who are you? Are you a professor? The guy adjusted his glasses, puffing out his chest. I'm a grad student in the physics department at Caltech. My name is a grad student. Chloe cut him off, then pointed at me. My tutor says grad students are just book-smart nerds who aren't as smart as his golden retriever. My smile froze. The guy's smile froze. The air around us turned to ice. Why had I ever said that? I was a grad student myself. Was this girl actively trying to get me murdered? The guy's face darkened. He shot me a cold look. Well, this tutor seems pretty confident in himself. I wonder which prestigious university he graduated from. I forced myself to stand up, offering a dry laugh. Kids say the darndest things, right? I graduated from a school of hard knocks. The Caltech student let out a disdainful snort and walked away, muttering, "What a hack," just loud enough for me to hear. I collapsed back into my chair, feeling utterly exhausted. Chloe, however, acted like nothing had happened. She leaned in conspiratorially. See, Leo? I scared away the competition for you. Aren't I the best? The best? She was the best at giving me an aneurysm. Chloe, I said wearily, from now on, when we're in public, can you please not mention me? I'm afraid I'm going to get jumped. What? She tilted her head, confused. You're so amazing, Leo. Who would dare mess with you? Looking into those eyes, which seemed so clear but held a tiny flicker of mischief, I had a sudden, terrifying thought. What if she was doing all of this on purpose? Chapter 4. This tutoring gig is starting to feel weird. This hellish routine continued for another 2 weeks. My mental state was deteriorating rapidly. Every night, I had nightmares of being chased by Chloe wielding a giant pink die. Just as I was about to throw in the towel for good, my thesis advisor gave me a new assignment. Leo, there's a major academic conference at Caltech tomorrow, and I'm a keynote speaker. But my old arthritis is acting up, and I can barely walk. Could you do me a favor and take this file to the dean over there and upload my PowerPoint to their system while you're at it? My advisor, Professor Davis, handed me a thick manila envelope. This is crucial for our department's funding next year, so don't screw it up. You can count on me, Professor, I said, my chest puffing out. A chance to escape that beautiful demon and breathe the rarefied air of a place like Caltech. It was a mission from heaven. The next morning, I put on my best suit, styled my hair, and headed out with my briefcase, feeling like a real professional. Arriving at Caltech, I was immediately struck by the intense academic atmosphere. Everywhere I looked, brilliant-looking students were rushing past with armfuls of books. The very air smelled of intelligence. This was where humanity was meant to be. Chloe's mansion, with all its money and glamour, was an intellectual desert by comparison. I followed my professor's directions to the main auditorium. A high-profile forum on quantum physics and future technologies was underway. A security guard at the door stopped me. What's your business here? Do you have an invitation? I'm here to deliver materials for Professor Davis from UCLA, I said, showing him my university ID. The guard glanced at it and waved me through. The auditorium was packed. The front rows were filled with the titans of academia, their bald heads gleaming under the stage lights like beacons of genius. I hunched over and tried to slip along the side to get backstage and find the dean. As I passed a hallway, I suddenly heard a familiar laugh. Ha ha ha, really? You could derive the formula that way, too. That voice, it was crisp, sweet, with a flirtatious edge that could melt steel. It sounded an awful lot like that airhead, Chloe. I stopped in my tracks and instinctively looked over. Not far away, by the door to a VIP lounge, a group of people was gathered around a tall, striking woman in a black power suit and gold-rimmed glasses. Her tailored suit perfectly accentuated her hourglass figure. Even in this serious, academic setting, her bust was a weapon of mass distraction. She was holding a cup of coffee, chatting and laughing easily with several white-haired professors. The elegance and confidence she exuded made her seem like a completely different person. But that profile, that figure, that voice, it was undeniably Chloe. I rubbed my eyes, thinking I had to be hallucinating. Chloe? Here? Chatting up Caltech professors? What kind of joke was this? This was a girl who thought the capital of California was Hollywood. How could she possibly understand what these old geniuses were talking about? It's just a look-alike, I told myself. The world is full of them. Besides, the real Chloe is probably at home right now, drooling over a trigonometry problem. Even as I tried to rationalize it, I couldn't help but stare. Just then, the woman seemed to sense my gaze and turned her head. Our eyes met. In those familiar, doe-like eyes, I saw a flash of panic, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. She immediately turned her back to me, as if she were hiding. I frowned. That reaction, it felt almost guilty. Before I could process it, a voice called from behind me. Hey you, the one with the file. Get over here. The dean is waiting. Oh, coming. I shook my head and hurried backstage. I had to focus on the task at hand. It was probably just my eyes playing tricks on me. After being tormented by Chloe for so long, a little PTSD was to be expected. But I had no idea that this was only the beginning. What was about to happen would completely upend my reality and make me question everything I thought I knew. Chapter 5. The face on the wall of fame looked awfully familiar after dropping off the file and uploading the presentation. My official duties were done. I was about to head back, but I figured since I was already at Caltech, I might as well explore a bit. I was curious if their cafeteria food tasted like genius. As I passed through the main hall of the lecture building, I saw a crowd of students gathered around a large bulletin board, pointing and murmuring in awe. Whoa, so that's the legendary girl genius. Unbelievable. She published 3 papers in major scientific journals as a freshman. Is she even human? And she's gorgeous. It's like a critical hit of brains and beauty. I heard our dean personally recruited her. He almost got into a fist fight with the president of Stanford over her. Their chatter piqued my curiosity. A genius? A published scientist? A beauty? That was the trifecta for a modern-day myth. I squeezed through the crowd and stood on my tiptoes to get a look. In the very center of the board was a huge poster. The background was a stunning image of a nebula, and in the foreground was a photo of a young woman. She was wearing a cap and gown, holding a diploma, and had a small, confident smile on her face. Those delicate features, that high-bridged nose, those eyes that seemed to see through the universe, and that impressive figure that even a loose-fitting graduation gown couldn't conceal. Boom! It felt like a bomb had gone off in my head. That face. I would recognize that face if it were ground into dust. It was Chloe. I stared, my eyes glued to the name printed below the photo. Chloe Sterling. The name was in a bold, heavy font, each letter like a sledgehammer blow to my skull. Below, it was a short biography. Special Research Fellow, Caltech Department of Physics, Junior Program. IQ 168. Accepted to Caltech at age 15. Solved the landmark Stirling-Hawking paradox at age 18. Hailed as the successor to Marie Curie. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone and found a selfie Chloe had sent me just yesterday. In the photo, she was making a peace sign, a Peppa Pig sticker on her cheek, and smiling like a complete doofus. I looked from the selfie back to the cool, brilliant goddess on the poster. This was the same person. My world started spinning. I refused to believe it. This had to be someone with the same name. Or the photo was photoshopped. Or she had a twin. Yes, that had to be it. A twin. Mr. Sterling was a billionaire. Of course he could have twins. One a genius, the other a dud. It was a classic story trope. As I was desperately trying to find a logical explanation, the conversation of 2 guys next to me drifted into my ear. Hey, did you hear Chloe Sterling is speaking at the forum today? Yeah, She's the final speaker, presenting her new findings on quantum entanglement. Let's go, let's go. We'll lose our seats if we don't hurry. Quantum entanglement? An image flashed in my mind of Chloe doing a physics problem yesterday. I had asked her, what is a quantum? She had replied, is that like when you get two peanuts in one shell? Two peanuts in one shell. I took a deep breath and grabbed the arm of one of the guys who was about to leave. Hey man, where's that forum being held? Startled, the guy pointed towards the main auditorium. It's in the main auditorium. Thanks. I let him go and sprinted towards the auditorium like a man possessed. I had to see it. I had to see with my own two eyes if this so-called genius Chloe on stage was the same boba tea-obsessed, test-taking by dice roll idiot I'd been tutoring. And if she was, then what have I been doing for the last 3 years? Was I a tutor? Or was I a court jester, performing for a genius who was playing me for a fool? Chapter 6. The Dean's Treasure gives me an existential crisis by the time I stumbled, panting, back into the auditorium. The forum was already well underway. I used my UCLA ID to bluff my way into a corner spot on the side of the stage. An elderly, white-haired professor was at the podium, speaking passionately. I didn't hear a single word he said. My eyes were locked on a figure in the front row. That straight-back posture, that black power suit. The more I looked, the more certain I became. Even the curve of the back of her head was identical. As my anxiety reached a fever pitch, the old professor finally concluded his speech. The host walked back on stage, his voice filled with excitement. And now, let us welcome the youngest special guest of our forum, the pride of Caltech, hailed as the shining new star of the physics world, Ms. Chloe Sterling. The auditorium erupted in thunderous applause. The cheers were so loud, they nearly blew the roof off the place. Amidst the ovation, the figure slowly stood up. She turned and gave a slight bow to the audience. In that instant, I saw her face clearly. Gold-rimmed glasses, cool red lipstick, an expression as cold and distant as ice. But that face, those features, it was without a shadow of a doubt the same Chloe who flirted and acted cute with me every single day. My knees went weak, and I nearly collapsed. It really was her. The girl who couldn't spell hello without an extra, he was a special guest speaker at Caltech. The girl who couldn't operate a rice cooker was a shining star in the world of physics. I felt like an idiot, a complete and utter idiot. Just then, the elderly dean of the university walked on stage and took the microphone himself, his face glowing with pride. Everyone, before Ms. Sterling begins her presentation, I'd like to say a few words. He looked at Chloe as if she were a priceless artifact, his voice dripping with adoration. As you all know, I personally recruited Chloe 3 years ago. She scored a 1590 on her SATs that year, missing a perfect score by only 10 points. And those 10 points were only because her essay was so profound the graders didn't understand it. A 1,590? My brain buzzed. I remembered Chloe's first practice test with me. Her total score was lower than my blood pressure. The dean continued. To get her to come here, I had to throw my pride away and camp out on her family's doorstep for 3 days and 3 nights. I even agreed to all of her father's ridiculous demands. For example, allowing her to skip all her classes as long as she shows up for exams, and providing her with her own private, state-of-the-art laboratory. Skip all her classes? That explained it. That's why she was at home every day for 3 years. She had special permission from the university. Not only is Ms. Sterling a genius, but she is also incredibly humble and modest, the dean gushed. She always says she still has much to learn. That is a spirit we can all learn from. Humble? Modest? I pictured her holding a solid gold abacus and telling me to kneel on it. I pictured her putting salt in my tea. That's not humility. That's method acting. That was her taking my intelligence and grinding it into dust under her heel. I stared at the radiant goddess on stage, a storm of emotions swirling inside me. Anger? Salt? Humiliation? All of the above. But more than anything, I felt a profound sense of powerlessness. It turned out I was the clown all along. What had I been teaching for the past 3 years? I was trying to teach an Einstein-level genius that 1 + 1 is equal to 2. I remembered all the times I called her dumber than a box of rocks, all the times I had confidently declared she wouldn't even get into a community college. Now, Those words came back to me like a series of stinging slaps across my own face. Just then, as if sensing something, Chloe looked up from the stage. Her gaze cut through the crowd and landed precisely on me, in my corner on the side of the stage. The moment our eyes met, her cool, indifferent expression shattered. Her pupils contracted behind her gold-rimmed glasses. She saw me. Chapter 7. The hot mic incident heard. Round the world our eyes locked. The air crackled and stood still. Chloe stood in the spotlight, a laser pointer in her hand, her arm frozen mid-air as she was about to change the slide. For the first time, her cool, untouchable expression cracked, replaced by a look of pure, unadulterated panic. She looked like a kid caught with her hand in the cookie jar, like a con artist whose cover was just blown in the most public way imaginable. Her lips trembled slightly, her eyes shifting from shock to terror, and then to a silent, desperate plea. It was a look that screamed, "Leo, I can explain." I stood there, arms crossed, a cold smirk playing on my lips. Explain? Oh, this was going to be good. The audience, oblivious to the drama unfolding, waited with bated breath for the genius's lecture to begin. Chloe took a deep breath, visibly forcing herself to calm down. After all, she was a world-class talent. She had to have some composure. She adjusted her glasses, slipping her mask of cool professionalism back on. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, my presentation is on the non-local correlations of quantum entanglement in the macroscopic world. Her voice was cool and her logic was sound, but the hand holding the laser pointer was shaking uncontrollably. The red dot danced across the PowerPoint slide like it was at a rave. As we all know, quantum entanglement is a phenomenon that is she trailed off. Her eyes kept darting in my direction, and tiny beads of sweat began to form on her forehead. I watched her, a cold look on my face. I slowly pulled the confiscated pink dye from my pocket and began to toss it lightly in my hand. Chloe's eyes widened in horror. A phenomenon that is like rolling a die. It's completely random, she blurted out. The auditorium fell silent. Every professor in the front row stared at her, their mouths agape, as if she had just revealed a groundbreaking new theory of the universe. A few seconds later, the hall once again exploded with applause. Brilliant! Absolutely brilliant! One of the bald-headed titans in the front row exclaimed, slapping his knee. Using macroscopic randomness to explain microscopic uncertainty. Such a simple yet profound metaphor. That's our genius for you. I was speechless. Were they serious? Were these people all insane? Chloe herself seemed shocked that she had gotten away with it. She awkwardly wiped the sweat from her brow and then rushed through the rest of her presentation at warp speed, rattling off complex theories so fast it sounded like she was rapping. Thank you. That concludes my presentation, she said, and then, forgetting to even bow, she turned and practically sprinted off the stage. The host, momentarily stunned, quickly recovered. Well, it seems our young genius has quite a personality. Let's give her another round of applause. And that's when it happened. In her haste, Chloe had forgotten to turn off the small lavalier microphone clipped to her collar. And so, through the auditorium's $1 million, state-of-the-art sound system, several thousand students and professors clearly heard her panicked, unfiltered thoughts. Oh my God, I'm so dead. What was that idiot Leo even doing here? Ugh, my whole sophisticated genius act is ruined. He definitely knows I was faking it. I don't even want to be a scientist. I just want to go home and be a lazy, spoiled rich girl. This is a disaster. He's totally going to make me kneel on the abacus when I get home, the solid gold one. Somebody help me. I'd give away half my dad's fortune for a hole to crawl into right now. Her desperate wail echoed through the vast, silent hall. Dead silence. Every single head in the auditorium swiveled in unison to stare at me, the guy in the corner. I stood there, frozen, the little pink dye still in my hand. Idiot? Lazy rich girl? Kneel on the abacus? I looked at the thousands of eyes staring at me. Eyes filled with shock, curiosity, and a dawning realization that I was somehow the puppet master in all this. I felt myself teetering on the brink of a full-scale social death. Chapter 8. The cards are on the table backstage, in the VIP lounge. The silence was thick enough to cut with a knife. Chloe was curled up in the corner of a sofa. The powerful, confident woman from the stage had vanished, replaced by a girl who looked like a plucked chicken, shivering and small. Her gold-rimmed glasses were gone, revealing her big, watery eyes, which were fixed on me with a look of utter misery. "Now, I want a boba," she whispered, extending a single finger to poke my arm timidly. "Half sugar, no ice, extra tapioca." "Boba my ass." I slapped her hand away, a laugh bubbling up that was equal parts anger and disbelief. "Chloe Sterling, you are unbelievable. The fact that you don't have an Oscar for Lifetime Achievement is a crime against cinema. So what's the deal? Quantum mechanics? A 1590 on your SATs? The next Marie Curie?" I took a step closer, leaning over her and trapping her in my shadow. "Do you just enjoy making me look like a complete moron? Does it give you a thrill?" Chloe shrank back, tears welling up in her eyes. I didn't mean to, you didn't mean to?" I scoffed. "So this was all just a happy accident? A 3-year-long, elaborate, accidental prank?" "Wah." Her face crumpled, and she burst into loud, ugly sobs, completely shattering her sophisticated image. The sudden outburst caught me, so off guard I didn't know what to do. "Hey, why are you crying?" "I'm the one who should be crying. I just wanted you to spend more time with me," she wailed between hiccuping sobs. "Ever since I was a little kid, everyone treated me like a freak because I was too smart. I memorized pi at 3, I was doing calculus at 5, I finished my PhD coursework at 15. It's exhausting. I just wanted to be normal. I wanted to watch cartoons and drink boba and get scolded by a tutor for getting a question wrong. But whenever I made a mistake, all the professors would just say, 'Oh, that must be some profound new method of solving it. You were the only one.'" She looked up, pointing at me with a tear-streaked face. "You were the only one who would call me a blockhead for messing up. The only one who would smack my hand for sneaking snacks. You treated me like a normal, kind of dumb girl. Do you have any idea how happy I've been these past 3 years? It's been the best time of my entire life." I was stunned. Looking at her tear-stained face, the anger in my heart fizzled out like air from a popped balloon. I never thought about it that way. The loneliness of being a genius. She just wanted someone to treat her like a person, not a concept. "So," I asked, my voice much softer, "you pretended to be dumb, got questions wrong on purpose, and even put salt in my tea just so I would stay?" "Uh-huh," she nodded, sniffling. And if I wasn't pretending to be dumb, my dad never would have hired a tutor for me. And if he didn't hire a tutor, I never would have met you." "Does your dad know about this?" "Of course," she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "He was in on it. He said as long as I was happy, I could burn through the entire family fortune. We had a few minds, anyway." I was speechless. Damn capitalists. The entire family was a bunch of actors, and I was the unwitting star of their 3-year-long sitcom. "Leo," Chloe reached out with 2 fingers and gently tugged on the hem of my shirt, her voice as soft as cotton candy. "Please don't be mad, okay? I'm done pretending. The jig is up." Actually, the answer to that triangle problem is C, because she grabbed a napkin from the table and started scribbling a series of terrifyingly complex equations. Based on the Lorentz transformation and Maxwell's equations, the resulting electric field would cause an electron to quantum leap. Therefore, the answer is 7. I stared at the alien-looking formulas, feeling my IQ drop by the second. "Stop." I pressed my hand over hers, my headache returning with a vengeance. "Don't flex on me. Just answer me this. Now that you've come clean, am I fired? After all, who pays a grad student 5 times the normal rate to tutor a PhD?" Chloe's face fell. She threw her arms around my arm and held on for dear life, her impressive softness pressing against me, making my heart skip a beat. "No, you can't leave. If you leave, I'll go to your university and protest with a giant sign. I'll tell everyone you knocked me up with a craving for snacks." A dark line formed on my forehead. Even with an IQ of 168, her emotional intelligence was in the negative. "Chloe, be reasonable," I sighed. "There's nothing left for me to teach you. You're way smarter than I am." "Says who?" Chloe puffed out her chest proudly. "Everyone has their specialty. You might not be able to teach me physics, but you can teach me other things." "Like what?" "You can teach me how to fall in love." She blinked, her long eyelashes fluttering like tiny fans against my heart. "I want to research the secretion patterns of dopamine and adrenaline during romantic courtship." "Leo Carter, would you be my test subject?" Chapter 9. If the shovel is sharp enough, any wall can be dug. After returning from Caltech, my job title underwent a subtle but significant change. While I was still technically her tutor, my actual role had morphed into a combination of full-time handler and romantic experiment guinea pig. Mr. Sterling was thrilled. He immediately doubled my already insane salary and not so subtly hinted that I shouldn't hesitate to make my move so he could have grandchildren sooner rather than later. Looking at the string of zeros on my bank account statement, all I could think was, the happiness of the rich is truly unimaginable. But Chloe, it turned out, had a very warped understanding of what dating meant. She approached it like another research project. Right now, in the study of the Sterling mansion, Chloe was wearing her familiar pink pajamas, gold-rimmed glasses perched on her nose. She was holding a ruler and pointing at a whiteboard. Written on the board in neat block letters was, First Date Feasibility and Analysis Report. According to Big Data Analysis, Chloe began, her tone deadly serious. The optimal location for a first date is a movie theater with a success rate of 85%. The dark environment promotes hormone secretion, and a horror movie can induce the misattribution of arousal phenomenon, increasing feelings of attraction. She pushed her glasses up her nose and looked at me, perched on a small stool. Therefore, Leo, tonight we will be watching The Ring. My eye twitched. Chloe, are you sure that attraction and not a heart attack? Details, she said, tossing the ruler aside and grabbing my arm. I already bought the tickets. VIP couples recliner. I heard the seats even vibrate. I sighed. I was being paid an absurd amount of money. I had to maintain some professional integrity. When we got to the theater, I realized just how far Chloe's idea of preparation went. She was carrying a massive hiking backpack. Inside, she had packed a small oxygen tank in case I fainted from fear. 2 good luck charms. She claimed they were from a temple to ward off Samara. And a stethoscope? What's this for? I asked, pointing at the medical instrument. To monitor your heart rate. Of course, she said matter-of-factly. I need to record your cardiovascular response when the ghost appears. This is invaluable first-hand data. I was speechless. The movie started. On screen, the creepy, long-haired Samara was crawling out of the television set. All around us, couples were screaming and clinging to each other. And then there was Chloe. She calmly placed the stethoscope against my chest, listening intently while scribbling in a notebook. Heart rate at 120 BPM, pupils dilated, palms sweating. It seems fear can indeed simulate the physiological response of attraction. I was so tense I could barely focus on the movie. Chloe, I whispered. Can you stop? That's kind of ticklish. Sure, don't talk. This is the critical moment. Chloe suddenly looked up, her big eyes shining with excitement in the dark. According to the dating guides I read, this is the point where you're supposed to pull me into your arms and comfort me by saying, "Don't be scared, I'm here." With that, she dove into my arms, snuggled into a comfortable position, and looked up at me expectantly. Go on, it's your line. I looked down at the beautiful, warm woman in my arms, inhaling the faint scent of her shampoo. My throat went dry. Her methods were insane, but the atmosphere was undeniably effective. I took a deep breath, wrapped my arm around her shoulder, and was just about to deliver the cheesy, cringeworthy line. Suddenly, Chloe's phone rang. Her ringtone was the obnoxiously cheerful theme song from Thomas the Tank Engine. In the terrifying, suspenseful silence of the theater, it was an auditory train wreck, completely derailing the romantic mood. Chloe fumbled for her phone and glanced at the screen, her expression changing. Hello, Dean. What? The calculations were wrong? That's impossible. I triple-checked them. Okay, I'm on my way back right now. She hung up and looked at me apologetically. Leo, there's an emergency at the lab. I have to go back. Now. I pointed at the screen, where Samara was halfway out of the TV. She's not even all the way out yet. You're leaving. No time. Chloe shouldered her backpack and started dragging me out of the theater. Scientific discovery waits for no one. We can watch Samara anytime, but if that particle accelerator overloads, the entire city could be wiped out. As she pulled me through the bewildered crowd, only one thought echoed in my mind. A damn particle accelerator. I should have known. Dating a genius PhD didn't just require a strong heart. It required a willingness to save the world at a moment's notice. Chapter 10. If you can't beat him, join him. After that disastrous first date, I came to a profound realization. Trying to turn Chloe into a normal, sweet, romantic girl was a more impossible task than teaching a cat to do my taxes. And since I couldn't change her, I had to change myself. Besides, the absurd salary was nice. And the Gia the kind, adorable girl who came with it was growing on me. So, I started to adapt to her world. When she talked about quantum mechanics, I'd talk about the quantum speed reading I'd invented. It was total nonsense, but it made her laugh. When she had to pull an all-nighter at her lab, I'd show up with pizza and wings. My ulterior motive was to keep her well-fed, so no other guys would try to steal her away. When she had one of her airheaded moments, like using face wash as toothpaste, I'd quietly swap out her toothbrush and then tease her about it relentlessly. Our days fell into a comfortable, chaotic, and surprisingly sweet rhythm. Until one day, Chloe pulled me into the study, a mysterious look on her face, and handed me a single sheet of paper. It looked like a test. "What's this?" I asked, confused by the single question on the page. Question: argue for the necessity and sufficiency of Chloe Sterling marrying Leo Carter. A. It is necessary. B. It is the only option. C. It should happen immediately. D. All of the above. I looked at the question, which was clearly designed to be an easy A, and couldn't help but smile. "Ms. Sterling, is this a marriage proposal?" "What if it is?" Chloe planted her hands on her hips, her impressive chest rising and falling with each breath, making her look surprisingly formidable. "I've already done the research. Our genetic compatibility is 99.9%, and my intelligence, combined with your emotional intelligence, will produce perfect offspring. This is for the future of the human race. Besides," she blushed, her voice dropping to a near whisper, "I'm already stuck on you. Who else could possibly put up with a dummy like me, who's good at nothing except being smart?" I looked at her, so fierce and yet so shy, and my heart melted. She was right. Who else would tolerate her salty tea? Who else would sit through a horror movie that was treated like a science experiment? I was completely and utterly stuck with her. I picked up the pen and, without hesitation, drew a large check mark on the paper. D. All of the above. I put the pen down, pulled her into my arms, and, looking into her wide, surprised eyes, I kissed her. "But I have one condition," I said, my lips still close to hers. What condition?" Chloe had gone completely soft in my arms, her eyes glazed over. "From now on, you handle our kids' math homework, and I'll handle the English." "Why?" "Because I'm terrified you'll teach them to use quantum mechanics to explain why Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star is really about the refraction of light from distant celestial bodies." "Hey, you're awful." Outside, the sun was shining. Inside, things were just getting started. I guess this is what they call an idiot's luck. My student might be a klutz in everyday life, but she had the most brilliant mind in the world and a husband who loved her more than anything. And really, that was more than enough. The end.